Hello, hello.
Mr. Ali, how you doing?
I'm all right. You?
Really good, really good.
Back here, you're wearing my favorite jacket. Oh, is it your favorite jacket?
We're matching, both red flags. Yeah, no, this thing's been on a journey with me, so I felt it was only right to wear it to the closing interview.
You had a redemption arc.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Is it a redemption arc?
I think you came back on the show, got to show your true colors, and
Yeah,
people actually fell in love with you for it.
yeah, definitely. I feel like in the beginning, I didn't really get a chance to show who I really was.
Yeah. Um, which is what, like you came back more funny. You came back with a bit of personality. You're a bit more relaxed.
I would argue I was funny in the beginning, but those jokes didn't make the final edit. For obvious reasons, like they want to really exaggerate that redemption. I will say that I definitely came back with a different perspective on the experiment. Like I definitely approached it completely different the second time around.
Yeah. Well, you'll match with Veronica.
I
Um,
was.
I felt like there was a bit of hope for you guys at the start.
Yeah, well, they didn't really show much from the wedding or especially the honeymoon. Like we had a whole, like 5 days together. We were like horse riding, having picnics, watching the sunset. It was like a really magical 5 days, and none of it got shown. I think they showed one scene where we were like kissing in the sunset, and that was it.
Yeah, that was like the ad. What went wrong?
Um, Look, yeah. Where do I start? Um, I can only, you know, um, hypothesize, but from where I was standing, it looked like Veronica had made her mind up about me based on that first dinner party, and she decided, right, I'm gonna get the bad girl edit, and I'm gonna put him in his place, and he's the villain, and there's nothing that he can do about it. Thinking that I was this kind of like cartoon villain that, yeah, would just like fall apart.
And I read an article that the whole meet up with Lauren and that she was sort of backing the wrong, like like she
That's
wrong
what it felt
horse.
like.
Yeah,
I was oblivious to that meeting she had with Lauren. Like I had no idea it even took place until that dinner party where everyone seemed to know except for me, and I felt like an idiot. And so she would talk about Lauren as a friend, which was really weird to me. Like, have you ever had you know, a partner that is friends with your ex that you're on bad terms with? Like, in what world is that a healthy, relationship? But she would speak to her as like, no, Lauren's my friend. We're going to be friends, and you can't tell me who my friends are. And I was kind of like, well, I think in this situation, it's not really appropriate. And it kind of took everybody sort of realizing Lauren's true colors and turning on Lauren for her to kind of backpedal on that and go, oh, actually, we're not really friends. And then she kind of like try to change the story a little bit.
and gotta ask, there was that dinner party where,
Which one? There's a few.
well, there's the dinner party in particular where Veronica's coming out with all these allegations and that none of the cast believe her. It was just like, what's going on?
The
Was that the CC actually?
Yeah, the
Wait,
CC.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
Let's
you
talk about the
confused me.
CC.
Yeah, let's talk
Where
about it.
Veronica had a lot to say. None of the cast believe her.
Yeah, no, she was very expressive, and it was almost like this kind of monologue from a scene from a movie, the way she delivered the whole, and we go around in circles and this and that. And I was kind of watching, and she was describing in me all the things that she seemed to do herself. And it was kind of like, wait, but this was on camera. Like, how are you? I was kind of just perplexed how she was able to like speak so confidently on things that weren't true when we'd been surrounded by cameras. And it's hard in that situation because you don't know what's going to be shown and what's not. Like maybe you know, I didn't know that they were going to show her
Yeah.
behaving like that. And I'm thinking, Jesus, I really hope they have the integrity to like, because this is really pivotal. Like I hope they show her having these kind of really dramatic meltdowns, and And they did. So yeah, happy days.
Gotta ask, what was she actually like? Did she get a bad edit? Be honest.
I'll be I'll be perfectly honest. Those scenes on camera where we're having those like incredibly frustrating and really uncomfortable conversations, that was basically what it was like with Veronica 24/7 after the first dinner party.
Yeah. There was a period where you guys had to.
Then during the couples retreat, it was like she kind of took down her walls a little bit. And I thought, wow, we're getting somewhere here. Like maybe we're getting past this whole Lauren thing. And then at the dinner party after that, she just flat out turned around and said, oh, actually, I was putting on a mask. Like that wasn't who I am.
So
And I was kind of so confused. I was like, what?
at the couples retreat, she wasn't.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
She said, no, that was a watered down version of myself. I had to make myself small for you, which is just weird. Like that kind of language, like just to be kind and like a normal person is making yourself small.
But also, you and Veronica, did you guys have to separate and live in different rooms, or?
Yeah, there were times where, look, I was a little bit paranoid for a while after some of those conversations. Coming out of them, it felt like I wasn't dealing with someone that was a rational, kind of stable person. So I asked to sleep in another room because I just didn't, I don't know. I felt a little bit exposed sleeping in a bed next to her. I don't know what allegations she would make about me or anything like that. And so that was where that came from. I really didn't want to be in the same room.
Yep.
And then also on top of that, there were times where she was kind of just storming out of the room and I wouldn't see her for like 5 days as well. Yeah.
And there was the couple swap week.
Yes.
What was Ree like?
Oh, Ree's a legend. Ree was like, it's so funny. The way they paired me and Ree was, obviously baiting us because of, obviously I put Ree second behind Veronica and so they were like, oh, let's see if we can get a jealousy plot line out of this. And at no point during it was there any kind of like, sentiment other than like, it felt like having my sister there. Like we were just chilling, playing cards, making each other breakfast or dinner or whatever. Like it was just like a hangout with a sibling. But it was really good. Ree is a very balanced, kind and honest person. And that's something that, I found it really easy to be around.
Do you reckon Veronica wasn't?
I mean, you tell me. Watch the scenes.
Well, like you, I need to speak about my experience with Veronica. She was so nasty to me during filming. She wanted little to nothing to do with me. I remember waiting till like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the mornings, and then you would rock up, get out of the car.
Yeah, we were in the car, and she was like, "That toad is there waiting for me." And then she got back in the car and I was like, what are you doing? Like, he's just doing his job. And then I get out and walk and then you had to get like a solo photo. And that's why you never got a photo of us together.
I actually didn't get, like the only couple I never got photos of.
I'm not upset about that either.
And so obviously Veronica was matched with Dave. There was all this talk that they might have hooked up. Like, do you know anything about that?
I mean, I wasn't in the room. There's all these conspiracy theories floating around, and I'm kind of making some jokes about it and some funny TikToks and things. I don't know. I think looking at it, it doesn't really matter. I feel like the way that Dave was acting with Veronica, whether he slept with her or not, was very inappropriate based on where he was at with his relationship. Jamie told Dave like a few days prior that she loved him, and he's in bed giggling, making jokes about the cameraman. Oh, you're too slow. You didn't catch us. Like, to me, I mean, that's extremely disrespectful.
Got to talk about Jamie?
Yeah.
What do you think of her?
Jamie is similar to Ree. Beautiful girl. Absolutely love her personality. I love how she stood up for everybody in the group, even when it was not in her interest. And I was one of those people. She was actually the first person that came out and said, hang on a minute, actually, Veronica, I think Eliot's in the right here after the confessions letter. and fully backed me, even though I was the most hated person in that room still from the, whole Lauren incident, and put herself on the line and really was the one that gave everyone else the confidence to be like, actually, yeah, I agree. Elliot isn't in the wrong here.
And
So I
yeah.
really respect people that are willing to go against the grain and put themselves on the line for someone else. Like, I have a huge amount of respect. The easy thing for her would have been just to write me off, be a girl's girl, high five Veronica, and and that would have been it. But she chose to do the harder thing, and yeah, I respect that.
What was it like to go back on the show and slowly like gain the respect of everyone else? Because at the
Yeah.
start, I feel like you didn't have that. They didn't give you a chance.
No, definitely not. Like, I don't even think the what you saw on the dinner party really shows what happened. Like, it was like a screaming match.
Yeah.
And it was like, I couldn't even hear what people were saying because someone would be shouting and another person would be shouting on top, and I'm just there like trying to articulate, what happened and my perspective and this and that. And it just got drowned out. Like, it was kind of just like, got to the point where I was just like, I can't say anything. I can't get two words out. So there's no point. I was careful. I didn't want to make any more enemies. And I realized in that moment, they were reacting to Lauren's story of me and not of who I am as a person. So I didn't take any of it personally. I just felt like, you know what, let them get it off their chest. When the time is right, they will have a chance to see the real Elliot.
Yeah. Was any cast member that went out of their way to get to know you?
Yeah, Adrian did in the beginning. Adrian was like, you know what, let's hear what Elliot has to say. And he did take that time. Tony was another one. Repeatedly tried to apologize to Lauren at that first dinner party. I was trying to pull her aside to have a one-on-one so I could actually get a word in to apologize to her. And she wouldn't have it. She said, no, I'm not giving you the time of day. I'm not going to let you apologize. Tony brought that up at the commitment ceremony and said, Lauren, Elliot was trying to pull you aside. Why didn't you want to have a chat with him and allow him to say his piece and apologize to you? And so, yeah, Tony definitely had my back there as well. And yeah, not a lot of other people, actually. I think they were the only two. Pretty much everybody else was, look, in that moment, Jamie was probably a little bit more balanced. She wasn't screaming at me. She was saying, I don't agree with what you did, but why don't we give you a chance to kind of tell your side? And then, yeah, pretty much everyone else was just, it's a tricky situation because everyone wants to get their voice heard in those situations and be the one dealing out the justice.
Yeah.
And so it kind of creates this, competition of who can yell the loudest. And so, yeah, but I never took that personally. I kind of, it wasn't easy in the moment, but I was able to kind of detach from a little bit and say, you know what, let them get it off their chest. And then, time will be on my side. I was quietly confident, in who I am and how they would warm to me.
And you do come back on the show. What sort of changed your mind?
Look, I looked at the situation and I kind of realized that I probably did approach the experiment from the wrong perspective in the beginning. I treated it as a matchmaking service and I went on there and said, right, I'm going to find the love of my life. I'm not going to, tolerate anything else. I'm not going to, what's the word? I'm not going to compromise on anything. I'm going to give them this long list of things. If they match me, they match me. If they don't, I don't even want to be on the show. And so, yeah, it was the wrong attitude to have. I still maintain that we should be picky with the people that we give our time to in real life. There's no point getting to know somebody, wasting their time dating them when you have completely different family goals. There's something that you just don't have a future with. I still maintain that, but for the sake of the experiment, it's not really what the experiment's about.
Yeah, let's talk about your family goals because I know that was one of the reasons you.
Yeah, I really like.
Yeah.
I am someone that comes from a big family, and I had a really beautiful upbringing. I have two, beautiful parents, and it's something that I want to have for myself. Like, I really want to have a family, and that's something that I have a really clear vision of what will be in my future. And so that's where all of that came from.
What did your family think of you going on the show?
They rolled their eyes and said, "What the hell?" Like, they know that I am not interested in, reality TV drama or, anything of that nature. And so they were just kind of confused as to like, oh, like, where are you going with this?
Yeah.
So that was kind of their reaction to it, is like, why?
I do want to talk about your love for books. Do you have a favorite book? Like, what sort of books do you read?
I read, okay, so if you want to, I'm going to do a whole book talk on this because everyone keeps
Tell us.
messaging me on TikTok to be like, do a book talk, do a book talk. So I read, I've got a love affair with books. I've been reading since I was 6 years old, reading in bed with my mom. I grew up from, I come from pretty, pretty low means. I grew up in a small town. There wasn't much going on. We weren't very wealthy. We didn't have much money. And so I spent a lot of time at the public library, where we had a state-of-the-art library. Like, for the town that I was in, it had a really great library. So I'd spend so much time there, like bringing piles of books home. And that's what I spent a huge part of my childhood doing. And that's just stuck with me, for these decades. I read a book a week still to this day. I'm not someone that goes out and tries to like put in people's face, be like, oh, I'm a reader. I've read this many books. I feel like people that do that, they tend to want the image of someone that reads books. I would have gladly not told anyone that I was into reading.
Yeah.
It was just the situation with Veronica that brought it up.
Like, why is she screaming at you for reading
I
a
don't
book?
know. Like, I like to read before I go to bed. That's how I wind down. The sort of books I read, look, I love fiction books. When you start reading, I think fiction is where you start. And then as you kind of, read more and more, you kind of move into non-fiction. And, all those kind of self-help books, psychology books, which I still love to this day. And, autobiographies and things like that. And then when you kind of go even further and you get even more into it, then you kind of delve back into fiction and you move into like the classics. I love like Tolstoy. Steinbeck is my number one. I've read everything he's ever written. I reread his books all the time. I love his ability to kind of paint a picture. And then, all those sort of books. There's contemporary writers as well that I love. Australian writer I love is Tim Winton. Haruki Murakami is a beautiful fiction writer. So I see it as like this bell curve of like, you start off with fiction, and then, a lot of people will kind of like talk about how they're superior because they read nonfiction. But then I feel like the real literary buffs are the ones reading nonfiction.
And when I first met you, you seemed to be like anti-TV. You didn't seem like the type that would go on a TV show.
I don't watch these
yeah.
shows. I got to admit, I stopped watching the show after I left.
Yeah. Well, I did want to ask. Yeah. So you did stop watching it?
I haven't seen anything from after my commitment ceremony.
So just the stuff you see on TikTok, I guess?
That's all stuff from before I left.
No, but like now, so the only updates you get from Mavs.
Oh,
what's on TikTok.
Yeah, I see bits and pieces here and there. Yeah, exactly.
And when I first met you, when we spoke, and you were like, I hate putting myself on social media.
I never had it. Yeah,
so
I had like 200 followers on Instagram. I didn't even use it really. It was always on private. I wasn't someone that was, trying to get Instagram famous or anything like that. I don't know. What I don't like about social media is the vapid kind of materialistic side of it, where you're not really doing anything of value. It's kind of just mundane things that you post. My thing on TikTok has kind of blown up. It's more like, I feel like it's more like sketch comedy than like social media. Like, that's like, I love humor. Like, I've always kind of like really admired funny people and people that can make a joke out of things, and so that's where my love of comedy comes from. And that's where that TikTok's really kind of blown up. It's just from the humor on there. Like if I was on there, like doing get ready with me's and like these social media things, no one would be following me.
I know, but that's what I think I love about you is you've learnt to make fun of yourself.
I've always made fun of myself. They don't show that in the beginning, but I have. I enjoy it. I think that one of the best things you can do if you're being made fun of is join in on the fun, and that's kind of like, I mean, don't take it personally. I said that to so many people during the filming. Like, dude, like, just relax. Like, you don't have to be perfect. Like, you can be a dork sometimes.
And people have changed their mind about you. What was that? What's that like?
I mean,
You've
honestly,
sort of now copped it from both sides.
yeah, I've seen both sides. I know what it's like. And look, I'll be honest. Even when I was probably the most hated when I walked out. Honestly, it didn't affect me as much as you would think. Like my day to day was not different at all. No one that I met on the streets, no one that I bumped into in a bar was ever impolite. Everyone kind of was still excited to see a maths character. And so I never really, I mean, I would sometimes read them and I'd have the comments sent to me. It never really bothered me that much. It was kind of like, whatever. They're reacting to, this image of me, not necessarily who I actually am. And I had all of my family, all my friends kind of like messaging me. I had people that I haven't spoken to in over 10 years, people that I went to high school with, reaching out to me saying, oh, it sucks they gave you this bad edit. Like they knew that wasn't who I was. And so it didn't really bother me as much as you'd think. However, in saying that, now that I have this like little army commenting on my TikTok, it is an amazing feeling. Like it feels like I've got this community that I can like have these inside jokes with. It's a really beautiful thing. Like it's really special.
Saw that you were like on TikTok live. What was that like? You were on there for like 3 hours. But
No, I
like,
wouldn't say I wouldn't say 3 hours. Maybe like an hour and a half. Look. I feel like. Do you know that movie with what's that actor's name? I'm a big movie buff, but I'm running off not much sleep, so my brain's not working. The guy from Taxi Driver.
Robert Niro.
De Niro, that movie of him and he goes to work at Google and he's like this boomer that doesn't even know how to use a computer. That's literally what I'm like on my phone. Like I'm like, people comment like, do this. And I'm like commenting underneath, how do I do that? Like, teach me. So yeah, doing the live, I felt like just like a dinosaur, like Fred Flintstone trying to use an iPhone.
But you're also getting a lot of love from some well-known people. Michaela Tesla's commenting on your
I didn't
TikToks.
even know who that was. Yeah, no, that's true. She did comment on a video being like, oh, I'm not convinced. And then I did a few more funny ones. And then eventually she was like, actually, you're pretty funny. Yeah. I didn't know who she was, but I've seen now, I've kind of Googled and yeah.
Can we expect a collab anytime soon?
I think, I don't know, I would be up for it, doing a funny video. Yeah.
Is that what goes through your head at the moment? It's like, who can I collab
I don't know,
with?
not really. I don't think I have the brain for that. I think I'm just going to keep doing these just funny videos. If people reach out and they want to do a collab, then 100% I'm up for it. Like, as long as they're like my kind of people and, I get along with them and they're funny, I'd 100% do a collab. I mean, if you're out there watching, send me a DM. Like,
Yeah.
But I don't think I'm going to be out there trying to like hustle and stuff like that.
So what do you make of Billy and Dave hustling on Cameo? I know you made a TikTok about it.
Do you know how many comments I get now? I was going to make a video. I did the Cameo video where I basically said, oh, I'm on Cameo now. And then I do a fake cameo of Lauren hiring me to take the piss out of myself. It was just like an idea that I had. I was like, oh, that'd be funny. And it did kind of blow up. And now I've got people messaging me constantly. They comment on all the videos like, oh, I can't find you on Cameo. what's your username? And like now I feel like I have to do a video just to clarify, like that was a joke. I'm not going to be on Cameo. That's not my style. I feel a little bit sleazy, trying to rinse people for $100 to
Yeah.
say a message. I don't know. You know what I was going to do? I was going to do a video, and I might still do this, and be like, tell you what, I'll do free cameos, right? I'll undercut Billy and Dave.
Yeah.
I'll do them for free on my TikTok. Every few days I'll do one. And if you just comment what the event is, and if it's interesting and you've got some funny things for me to say, if it's just like, say happy birthday, I don't think I can add much value. But if it's like, oh, they love margaritas and they, want to do this and say this and da-da-da, then and if people like it and I see the comment, I try to read the comments, but I can't read them all. But if it gets liked to the top and I see it, I'll do that. Every few days I'll do one.
Yep. Would you ever consider joining OnlyFans?
No one would pay. It would be a flop. I'd be like on there with like my four followers.
Yeah, maybe.
No, I don't know. It's not my style. Look, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not, I've got kind of views on that sort of thing for myself that I wouldn't want to participate in it. No hate to people that do, but just for me, yeah, not something that I would want to do.
And what was your overall experience like? Would you go back and do another season of Maths?
100%. You haven't heard.
What? Tell me.
2026.
You're coming back?
I haven't told you yet. Yeah, that's the third time's the charm. That's what the whole promo is going to be.
Yeah.
No, I'm really kidding.
What about something like The Bachelor? Would you consider that?
Look, had you asked me earlier, I probably would have said no. But to be honest, I'm having that much fun with the way everything's going. I feel like it would be entertaining. I feel like it would be a funny show. And I would take it seriously, but there would definitely be some laughs along the way. And to be fair, like the concept is kind of there. Like, oh, Elliot's Mr. Hard to Please. He's already had 2 wives. Like, I'm sort of halfway to The Bachelor anyway.
And dating, what's that been like for you? Are you back on the dating apps?
Nah, I'm kind of focusing on myself at the moment. So I don't really do dating apps. I think I had one once for like a few months. I was never a fan of that dynamic. It just felt a little bit kind of, I don't know, transactional. I don't know. I didn't like the vibe. So I'm not into that. But in terms of like meeting people, I'm meeting a lot of people, but I'm not really looking to, look at anything in a romantic way right now anyway. But you never know. You sometimes just meet the right person at the right time.
Was there another bride on the show you probably would have hit it off with better?
You know what? Trying to think about it is kind of weird because I ended up being quite good friends with like most of the brides on the show. It's ironic. Like it was all of them except for the ones I was married to. So no, but like, I don't know. It feels a bit weird because I know them as friends now, and I've kind of like seen them with a partner, and so it's like, I don't know. To think about that is a little bit.
Do you reckon you'd be cutting someone else's grass if you did?
Yeah, it'd feel a bit like that.
Yeah.
I'm the type of person that would never go for someone that has dated a friend of mine. It just feels like, kind of a snaky thing to do. And I would rather value the friendship with the mate than go for the romantic interest.
And you do have a lot of reality TV mates. Did you speak to any of them?
Not really. I've got one, and he was on Beauty and the Geek, and it's really funny because we were living together when this is Troy.
Yeah.
When he went through that journey, and that was pretty funny experience.
Did you talk to him before Maths? Just to get his opinion?
We were friends like 10 years ago. We're kind of estranged.
It was Geordie who signed you up to the show, right?
He didn't sign me up. He twisted my arm to do it. So there was a casting agency that reached out to me to go on the show through like some social media, Instagram or Facebook or something, and I thought it was the block initially. I was like, oh, yippee, like that's, I'm in construction, like that's amazing. But it ended up being maths, and I kind of said no. And funny story, I was actually in Bali while I was doing the auditions, and I never had a face-to-face audition. I did a few auditions, and it was in a villa in Bali. You could see in the background. And then I was kind of like, I kind of explored it as like flirted with the idea. I was like, I wonder what they'll think of me. And like, they were doing these kind of psychology tests, which I'm really interested in, like, human behavior and what sort of person would they want to match me with and this and that. I got to the end and I said, and I watched a few episodes and I saw a dinner party. I was like, that's not my style.
Can I ask what season you watched?
The last one, 11.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The one that's with Jack and Tori and
Yeah.
yeah. So they had some really explosive dinner parties, and I kind of watched it. I was like, yeah, not for me. And then I was hanging out with Geordie, my mate, and he had always wanted to be on one of these shows. Like he's a kind of I don't know, he's a very romantic guy, and he always wanted to go on one. And so it was kind of like him living vicariously through me going, oh, you should do it. Like you never know, it could be the one. And it was like that what if kind of like,
Yeah.
1% chance thing. And that's, why I kind of went into it a little bit sort of unwilling.
And what do you make of Jackie and Ryan's
Jackie,
relationship, or
yeah.
Jackie and bloody Clint?
Look, during the experiment, I did see eye to eye with Jackie on some things, and some things I was kind of like, that makes no sense to me. Or I found it to be very contradictory, and say one thing and then immediately contradict it, and you'd kind of be like, how do I take anything that you say seriously? But to be honest, there were times where I was like, you got a point there, Jackie. Like, that's fair. Like, that's facts. Like, and I would take her side. So it's kind of complicated between her and Ryan. Ryan, I think, what I got from Ryan is he's lacks a little bit of self-awareness. I don't mind the guy. I think his heart's in the right place, but he's what you get when you've got a guy that's been single for too long. And I honestly, no, literally, he lives by himself.
Jackie had to say, yeah.
And I agree with her on that, because I see some of that in myself. Like men are kind of these really like, Spartan creatures. We don't really care about the creature comforts. We just want to like, and I think that we need a woman's touch in our life, like she was trying to do with his house. I think she went about it the wrong way. She was very confrontational and very, critical of him. I think if she'd done it in a softer way and said, you know what, Ryan, like if you wanted to, me and you could like do some things to kind of like spruce this place up a little bit and make it a bit nicer. And that might have made it a bit more, it wouldn't have hurt Ryan's ego so much, and he might have been on board with it. But for me, if she came around to my house and was like, oh, we could do this, and that, I'd be like, let's do it. Like, I'm happy to have a woman's touch in my house. I don't think that's anything. And I think that's Ryan's fault, is he kind of gets very defensive about things. Jackie talking about him saving his testosterone. He got very like stonewally and like, oh, and it's like, dude, just like.
What's your views on the saving?
Oh, God. Does he? I said it on the show. Like, I mean, maybe if you're like an Olympic level athlete and it's the night before the race, if you're just going to the gym to like, you do the machines, like, I would love to see like a randomized controlled study where they get Ryan and Ryan's twin, and one of them has sex in the morning, one of them doesn't. See like how many kilograms of muscle extra you gain versus like having a healthy relationship with your wife. Like,
that's funny.
That's the way I look at it, and so, yeah, but with their relationship, I mean, the tirade Jackie's going on now, I don't think is a good look. I don't think she is making valid points. She's trying to say, oh, well, the show has, she's trying to make this analogy of like maths is like, saying because I opted to participate in it, that's like saying, someone who is sexually assaulted, is complicit in the assault. But I don't agree with that. I think a better analogy would be because she did sign all the contracts and go into the show willingly. I would say that that's more analogous to sleeping with somebody, giving consent, and then afterwards turning around and saying, "Oh, you guys raped me." Do you know what I mean? Because she did give consent, and they haven't done anything that was outside of the contract that I know of. And so for her to turn around and just like, it's like she's throwing everything she can, as much mud as she can, and seeing what will stick. I personally don't think that's constructive. I don't think it's giving her a good look. I don't think that's what's going to turn people around to saying, oh, no, 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 actually Jackie isn't, crazy. I think if anything, it's going to add fuel to the fire.
Do you think you went rogue?
I did, but I've never tried to play the victim and say, oh, this show is making me poo with my microphone on and like all these crazy allegations. Like,
What was the go with that? Did they ever make you use the bathroom with mics?
no. So the idea is it takes them a bit of time to tape the mic on because it's like they want it to not be visible to create this, illusion that they're not on a reality TV show, that you're there and there's no microphone. So it's a very fiddly job. Sometimes you're standing there with a guy like trying to get in.
I hated that, yeah.
Yeah. For like 10 minutes and you're standing there. And so they don't want to pull it all off just because you got to go to the toilet because, they'd be putting them on, taking them off all day. But you can easily just ask them to turn it off and they'll turn it off. Like they're not trying to get you going to the toilet. Like I've never seen them use any like booping audio. So like, I think it's a bit ridiculous and it's kind of getting to the point where it's starting to look a bit desperate of like, what else can I throw at them?
Good ask. Abby Chatfield had a lot to say about you.
And not a lot to listen.
So what do you make of that?
Oh, look, I think Abby has built this kind of empire of fans, and she is very good at this game that she plays of like, it's almost like guerrilla warfare where she like does these barbs and then disappears and then she'll like take something that you've said out of context and then twist it into a narrative that she can attack when it's not actually what you've said or done. So I think, I don't know. I don't know how to engage with that. I am a believer in having like quite open, direct communication. Why assume what someone thinks and make a video about it and then block them? Like that's not a good way to get to the truth. It's a good way to make entertaining content, I think, but it's not a good way to, address concerns or to get to the bottom of something. So yeah, look, she continually does videos about me. I don't think she has any real interest in hearing the truth. She kind of like will say something like, "Oh, you didn't address these the Paul punching the wall thing," and then I'll point out, "Well, actually, I did." Like immediately at the time, I was like one of the only grooms that didn't like minimize it, and I said like that's despicable behavior, and I wouldn't tolerate that in a friend. Like, and then she moves the goalpost and said, "Oh, no, that was on the TV show. I want to hear it on your social media." It's like well, these are semantics. We're playing these games of like, oh, that's not enough. That's not enough. That's not enough. It's like, it's this kind of control aspect, I think. So yeah, look, I don't know. I don't have any intent of putting out these kind of like highly, serious politicized statements onto my TikTok. I don't think that's what people are going on there to see. I think they're going on there to kind of get away from that and to be able to like, oh, that's heavy. Like, can we just have a laugh? Can we like smile? Like that's, I think, what people are gravitating towards my TikTok for. And I don't want to try to stuff my views down their throat. Like, I think I've made it pretty clear what I believe through all my interviews, through my how I've conducted myself on the show, where you actually do get to see me for a length of time. And so I'll let people judge me by that. And I don't want to get goaded into, oh, you have to do this. Oh, now you have to do that. You have to denounce this. You have to denounce that. Yeah, I don't think that's going to ever appease anybody.
Yeah. Are you glad you came back?
Yeah, I think it was definitely the right thing to do, was to come back and engage with the experiment as it was kind of designed to be, and to give people a chance to actually see kind of the full story.
Yeah. Like back on the Jackie part, she did have a lot to say about you and Ree sharing the same bed. Can we get to the bottom of that?
It's a nothing story. There's literally nothing to that story. I don't want to like bring it up. This is another thing. It's like Jackie is like, it's like she's fallen off the cliff, and she's just grabbing at everything she can to try to like, I don't know, bring people down with her. I don't really want to address it because I feel disrespectful to Ree.
Yeah, we can ask Ree about it.
I think you're better off to ask Ree about it, and she can give her perspective. And I'll just say that there's absolutely zero foul play. I'm friends with Ree and Jeff to this day. In fact, Jeff is an absolute like stellar guy. Think the world of him, and I think that they had a really beautiful relationship in there, and I would never have done anything that would have jeopardized that.
Yeah. What advice would you give people looking to join the show?
This is the advice that I give people, because I have people come up to me all the time. They're like, oh, I was thinking of auditioning, or I've been approached to do it. And the thing that I say is, you have to be okay with being hated. Do not do the show if you cannot handle having Australia hate you, because you don't know how things are going to pan out, and you don't know your level of self-awareness. Nobody thinks that they're a bad person. Nobody thinks that they're going to go on the show and be hated. Everyone thinks, no, I'll go on there and I'm going to be the hero of the story. You don't know that. In fact, there's probably a better chance that you won't be. And so I'm watching people around me. They're calling me and texting me and being like, oh my God, like I am so upset with how I'm looking. I'm like, people breaking down at how they're shown. And I think that you need to have that strength of character to not be too phased by copping a bit of hate online.
Well, I did want to ask you before he bloody walked in, was your friendship with Adrian.
Oh, here we go. Who's Adrian?
Where'd this friendship come from?
Me and Adrian, look, Adrian is a guy that what you see is what you get. And look, the way I would talk about Adrian is, everybody has their faults, right? I think there's a lot of things that me and Adrian agree on, and there's also some things that we don't agree on, right? And I would say that about anybody. No one's like a complete villain or a complete hero. What I look for in people is their honesty and their willingness to work on themselves and improve.
Yeah.
So my argument would be, people like Abby, their mindset is, oh, that person said something or did something bad. We need to boycott them, cancel them, ostracize them. Is that the right word? Ostracize? Exile them from society.
Yeah.
Ostracize. Sorry. I told you I didn't have a great sleep last night. And so I disagree with that vehemently. I don't think we should do that. I think we're better off connecting with those people, influencing those people, and not demonizing them. People make mistakes. I've made mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. If you're willing to like learn and grow, then no one should be, canceling you. That's the way I see things. I don't know if that's, the right thing, but that's the way I look at it. And yeah, Adrian isn't a bad guy. You spend a bit of time with him, you'll know. He's probably more liked by the cast, and I'll cop some hate for this, than anyone. Like, he's probably the little socialite in the middle of them. And there's only a couple of people that don't like him. I won't say who. But yeah, no, I would say judge the man when you know him and not just by, the edits that you see on the screen or rumors or whatever.
Last question. Where do you stand with Veronica now?
I don't. We don't talk. We don't communicate. That is somebody. Look, and that's another example. Like Veronica never really showed any real remorse or willingness to admit fault throughout the experiment. She gave little dismissive, "Oh, I'm sorry you feel that way," or kind of like there was no real moment where she goes, "Yeah, that behavior was fucked." Like I shouldn't have been talking like that. I shouldn't be acting like that. That is, it looks abusive, and there was none of that. She never kind of like admitted fault. Even when she did the Today show, it was kind of like, oh, I was put in this situation because I was so isolated. Meanwhile, everybody on the cast knows that she lives in Sydney. She was at home every weekend. She was calling people.
Ask, yeah.
So like this whole sob story of like, oh, Eliot didn't give me anything and so I was so isolated, it just doesn't hold any water. You ask anybody in the cast and they will disagree with that. And that's a good kind of barometer of who's telling the truth. You say, oh, well, Eliot just got the good edit. But it's like, how do they edit pretty much everybody on the couch coming to my defense against her? How do they edit that? Like, if anything, they edit it to not show as much, to edit people
Do you
out.
reckon her worst moments were probably left out?
Yeah, there was a lot that wasn't shown. Like, if they showed the full extent of that argument after the confessions letter, like they were protecting her with that, and then the subsequent arguments, she was calling like, it was like, yeah, it would have been very triggering for people to watch. I was kind of lucky that I was at that point. I felt pretty detached from her and I could see it for what it was. And it was just like this kind of surreal, bizarre sort of performance. Yeah, look, I wish the best for her. I hope she can like turn things around, but I think she needs to stop and like realize the way that she speaks to people like that, like that's not okay to talk to anybody ever like that. Yeah, that's my, and yeah, it's funny watching that back and how she was trying to use, and Dave is kind of this unwitting sort of pawn in this, she goes over to Dave's and, bats her eyelids at him and he's, oh, she's the nice girl. And it's like, she was like that on my honeymoon as well. But, spend a bit of time with her one-on-one, over an extended period of time and you might have a different opinion.
I think a lot of people hold back on saying what they really thought of people.
Frankly, I think he did.
There was a time where he went like that to me. So, yeah.
I mean, Dave needs to stop worrying about trying to be the good guy in every situation, because the problem with that is he's the good guy trying to defend Veronica at the expense of Jamie. And it's like, you can't be the good guy to everybody. A friend to everyone is a friend to no one. So, yeah, that's the way I see it.
Cool, thanks. I think I'm happy with that. Was there anything else you want to touch on?
I don't know. Oh, the jacket.
Yeah, so we spoke about the jacket.
I'm gonna auction it off.
Are you?
Yeah. I'm gonna do a charity auction, and we're gonna do all the proceeds to a Type 1 Diabetes Foundation, because everyone keeps bringing up the jacket, and I'm gonna keep doing videos and try to like hype it up a bit, and then we'll do like an auction.
I love it.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks so much. Thanks for coming in.
You're welcome, Ali. It's always a pleasure.
Cool, thanks. Can I just get you looking to your camera, which is this one, just with the mic so I can get screen grabs when you're talking? Yeah, thanks.
All right.
Cool, thanks. Pedro, should we pause it all and then start a new recording? Yeah. Just to get...
It's hot, eh? Yeah. That's the only outfit I got left.
I'm just going to open this, guys.
Are you doing another pod?